Oh, for goodness sake. What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we are back with career mode, and I feel like every single time we come to this engineer's room for a new upgrade, it just fails every time, so I think we should start off the episode somewhere else, and that way we'll get the upgrades coming through. But yeah, unfortunately we lost the front downforce upgrade for the Canadian Grand Prix, which we're going to now. Thankfully though, we did manage to get the rear downforce upgrade, so at least we have that to play with coming into this Grand Prix, and that will definitely help in this tricky kind of scenario we've got at the moment. Intermediate conditions, the rear downforce will definitely make the car more stable and more planted in this session, so that's you know, one thing I'm kind of looking forward to in this session. But so far I think we are in Q1. We go P2 at the moment, only a tenth away from Sebastian Vettel, so straight away pretty much right on the pace, which I was actually quite surprised with. I didn't really go too in depth with the setup. I actually loaded like a, I think it was like Australia setup or Russia or something like that, but either way I'm running like 5.5 wings, so I decided to go for a little bit of a compromise between low downforce and kind of medium downforce. I thought I'd just be able to get away with that, and it looks like it's working quite well at the moment. We make it through to Q3, only just squeezed into that session, by the way. I think I waited a little bit too long in that session. The track was a little bit too dry for the intermediate conditions, but with that said, we just squeaked through. Fernando Alonso looking pretty good as well in P4, 6 tenths away from the pace, but we move on to Q3 now, and the track is pretty much bone dry, so now we'll have a good chance to see what the car can do in the dry. I will be honest, I feel like the car is probably better in the dry as well, so hopefully we can get, I don't know, close to the top 5-ish. I'm at least hoping to beat Red Bull. You know, this is going to be a weaker track for them with their, you know, lack of straight line speed, but so far we're looking pretty good. Just under a tenth slower than Valtteri Bottas as we go through the first sector, so yeah, all is looking pretty good so far. We haven't made any corner cuts. We're still running with strict corner cutting rules as well, so it's very easy to lose a lap just being a little bit too greedy on the curbs, and it is all completely over and out. But this lap has actually been really clean so far. 3.5 tenths down as we go to the middle sector, but I feel like our third sector is actually our best one of the whole lot, because we can really attack the final chicane with a lot of pace. We open the DRS, max fuel mixture is flowing, and we'll see what we can do in this session. We are actually running with a slightly older turbo unit as well, which might you know, slightly hinder us, but I'm hoping to get through the season with less power units than what I did last season. But across the line, it is P1, so despite being, you know, just off the pace of Valtteri Bottas right throughout the whole lap, we made it all up in the third sector to go purple by 4 tenths. Bear in mind, we did corner cut the final chicane, so the next time we go out for an next run, we'll have to do that cleanly. But in saying that, I feel like we can improve in the first and second sectors. So we'll see what we can do as we venture out now for our final run of qualifying 3. The track is going to grip up a little bit as well, so there's a bit of time to be found there. And like I said, first and second sectors we can definitely improve on. Going through the first little chicane there, we end up being, I don't know, just under a tenth up on our previous best, so all is looking pretty good so far. We got a really smooth exit onto that kind of back straight there, and that's where we gain like 2 or 3 tenths, and then again into this hairpin corner, a lot of time gained there too. So now it's about maintaining this margin, because we know we corner cut here on the last lap, take it nice and cleanly there in 5th gear, open the DRS, and there was about a tenth or two's lost in that transition through the final chicane, but it doesn't stop us from getting pole position for the second. It's second, and we're only 1,000th away from Lewis Hamilton, by the way. We went across the line, and we were purple. It said purple, it came up, and then we go to the results screen, and Lewis Hamilton has pipped us at the death of qualifying for this Canadian Grand Prix. I can't believe it. You cannot get any closer than that. Well, you can do the exact same time, but still, I can't help but feel robbed. We haven't got a pole position at any point in this career mode series, 45 episodes in, and that was the closest we got. But yeah, even if you go fastest right at the end of the session, you're still not safe, as Lewis Hamilton goes to prove there. But as you can see there's the state of the engine, the power unit components. We were running with a really banged up energy store. You know, you don't need lean revs in qualifying, so that was fine. I think if we would have ran with a newer turbocharger, that would have been it. We would have got pole. That was the difference. But okay, fair enough. Time for the race now. We'll see what we can do.
and see if we can do even better in the race.
So we have a bit of a change now for this Grand Prix. We go from, well, we had intermediate conditions yesterday in qualifying. The session that counted was dry in Q3, but now the conditions have been completely turned on their head, and now we have full wet conditions for the start of this Canadian Grand Prix. I believe it is set to go to intermediate conditions, and then maybe, just maybe, it can dry out for the end and we can be near enough to the pace that we showed in qualifying. So with that lap, that effort, I feel like we are better than second place. We may even potentially be the fastest car in the field. We'll have to wait and see though. This has really come as a shock to me. We only did the rear downforce upgrade. I think we just nailed it in terms of the qualifying lap and maybe the setup, and the rear downforce upgrade as well coming into its own for this Grand Prix to really give us the pace. But 5 red lights and away we go for this Canadian Grand Prix. We need a good start, and it looks like we've got one round the outside of Lewis Hamilton. That is a dream start for this Grand Prix. We will now take the lead as we go through turn 1. Lewis Hamilton still in second, Sebastian Vettel in third. It is really slippery in these conditions. I did find that out on the formation lap, but yeah, at this stage we're just going to take it really easy, especially since we're at the front of the field, we're the pace setter, we're kind of the pioneer in the first, kind of experiencing the conditions out of anyone. We're losing the back end as we go through the fast right-hander there, so just need to tone things down a little bit. I don't need to play catch-up, because like I said, I'm the guy at the front, and there's, you know, almost no one's really going to overtake me unless I make a major mistake, so I'm going to do my best to avoid making that happen. But as we go to the end of the first lap, the gap is about 5/10, so hopefully we can bridge that over the next few laps. But like I said, I'm not really going to be pushing it too much. We're just going to build our pace into this Grand Prix, and as the track gets drier, which I expect it will, the pace should come to us more and more. And we're also running with low fuel as well, just to make us that little bit more competitive for the race, having a lighter car. And you know, you also don't need to use that much fuel in wet conditions, because you're relying on the lean revs a whole lot more just to get you out of those traction zones. But as we go into the third sector hairpin, Lewis goes for a dive up the inside. We're going to try and hold it around the outside though. We'll have probably better traction and a more flying run, and we absolutely smash away from Lewis Hamilton there. That was actually quite scary how much we were able to you know, pull away from him on that exit. I have found that on F1 2017 the AI do struggle for traction a little bit more than in previous games in the wet, which is actually nice to see, because us as players, we really do struggle, especially in wet conditions when the tyres start to go off. But yeah, at this stage things are looking pretty good. As soon as we start to get our rhythm going, we start to understand how much grip we got in the tyres and everything. I was really getting into a groove, and you can see I was constantly going purple. Yes, it did probably help as well that the track was drying and the fuel was burning off, and the tyres weren't really wearing out that much. So that was really just, oh dear, that was really promoting the fast laps to continue to get, you know, pumped in. I even had to check at one point that I was still running on maximum difficulty. I can confirm I was.
The heavy rain will pass in about 5 minutes. We'll then be working with light rain conditions.
Okay, so it looks like we're going to be going to intermediate conditions fairly soon, so that's a little bit earlier than what I anticipated in this Grand Prix. But as we've seen in previous races so far this season, the AI like to stick it out on the wet tyres. I feel like on this game the wet tyres are really versatile. Like, they can even survive in intermediate conditions. So I don't want to kind of predict the strategy just yet, but I feel like we might stay out as long as we can on the wet tyres and try and get away with a one-stop and carry the intermediate tyres to the end. Here's Lewis Hamilton in the pits. He's actually fitted on another set of wet tyres, which is quite interesting. I was starting to think it was almost time for intermediates, given that the rain has eased up slowly over the last few laps. You can see there's really only droplets on the screen. I can't really see too many drops actually falling on the track, so I was really surprised to see Lewis Hamilton come in again for wet tyres, and I think a few others as well behind him going to be coming in for wet tyres as well, as we really push the boundaries there up against the Wall of Champions. You can see we just touched the right rear there, and we'll get another replay from a third person. That is so sick. That's like Monaco-esque, you know, how you have to just push right up against the walls. We avoid the tyre barrier and, yeah, absolutely get the most out of that. And that's thumbnail material right there. God, I love photo mode, but that was a pretty stylish way to go to the fastest lap as well in the process. But yeah, we're just chilling in the lead. Like, I can't ever remember having a scenario like this in career mode. Not on F1 2017, where we're actually the fastest car. This is actually really refreshing to see for once. Team radio.
This light rain is going to be with us for a while now.
Okay, so just after checking up with Jeff, it looks like the light rain is actually classed as light rain now, so we could probably get away with diving onto the intermediate tyres, and that is exactly what we're going to do here on lap 18. So just over halfway into the race, the tyres were at 60%, just about on the left rear. So if we can take the wets for this far, then I think we could just about take the inters to the end, depending on how the weather plays out. You know, if it stays intermediates to the end of the session, to the end of the race, sorry, then we may well stay out, but it could just as easily go to dries. But we'll have to wait and see on that one. As we exited the pits, it was a bit slippery. Had a bit of a moment, but after that, the tyres like phased in, and we were absolutely blasting in all the fastest laps that we could. We go red there. That was probably a mistake on that lap, but soon after all those fastest laps came in, we encountered some lap traffic. Romain Grosjean, Jolyon Palmer, Lance Stroll, and we'll probably see a few more as more cars dive into the pits late on in this race. I'd hazard a guess to say that the AI will probably dive in again just to be safe on their intermediate tyres. Lance Stroll letting me through at the absolute worst point on the circuit, probably the tightest part, and he decides to let me through in the middle of a corner, risk both of our cars, and he ends up spinning. I mean, he got everything he deserved there. Like, what? Why did he think that was a good idea? I do not know. But, yeah, he's only got himself to blame there, letting the race leader go through at a really tight spot like that. But lap 28, still going purple. The gap is, I think, 20 seconds to Kimi Räikkönen. It's absolutely outrageous, and that gap just continues to extend as we just continuing to set laps for fun, really, in the lead, which, yeah, I honestly, I couldn't believe it. I really don't know what has clicked here today. Just the setup, the upgrades, my driving style. Maybe it's a weaker track for the AI, but it has all come together really nicely. But I don't expect the rest of the season is going to be like this. I just don't, because we haven't really made that many upgrades, and we weren't even the fastest car in Monaco, so it's really weird to see how it's played out like this. Lap 33, we're just bringing it home now. I think this is the fastest lap we set, because we were in the slipstream of one of the lap cars, and now we're going to blast it home to the end. I think the last two laps I decided to conserve the car, conserve the engine a little bit, and just get home without making any mistakes. So I was pretty happy with the time I set, and I felt like there probably wasn't much more time left in the circuit now that it's really starting to dry up. That a fastest lap is really possible anymore. So this is the final lap now, just bringing it home. Like, I honestly can't remember the last time we had a career mode race like this, where we just led from start to finish, completely unchallenged, and we're in a McLaren Honda of all cars. Like, it's absolutely unbelievable. But as we go through the final corner, we're going to do some burnouts, a bit of a celebratory weave as we go across the line. What a dominant way to take this Canadian Grand Prix, another win in Season 3.
McLaren have pulled it off. They've won in spectacular fashion here today. So, Ant, how exactly did they set themselves apart from the pack today?
Rain always has the potential to liven up a race and mix up the order, and they've taken full advantage of that to claim the victory today. It's always a bit of a lottery when the conditions are like this, but they've managed to stay on circuit and have come out on top.
And look at that, they're making their way out onto the podium now. Great race from the McLaren team, and I'm really happy to see them there on the top step of the podium.
Thank you very much, Crofty, and there we go. That is another win in Season 3 of F1 2017 Career Mode. You know, I wasn't going to let off my foot off the throttle at any point in that Grand Prix, like maybe some other people in Career Mode might do. I just wanted to get on with it, get the race win, because we're, you know, entrenched in a pretty tight battle in the championship with both the Ferraris. Kimi Räikkönen coming home in second, Lewis Hamilton third. Kimi was one of only few other drivers to do the one stop in the end. Lewis Hamilton doing 2, Bottas doing 2, and Vettel doing 2 as well. That really cost him, only getting 10 points today. So that is a massive swing for us in the championship. We may be leading by, I don't know, around 20 points, which is a huge margin, an absolutely huge margin to have. But we absolutely need it, because we're heading to Baku next, and that is a pretty substantial track for the AI where they're really strong. The gap is only 14 points, so I overestimated the lead that we had, but still, really good to have the lead at this point as we continue to upgrade the car. Like I said, we're going to need it because we're going to take some engine penalties at some point. I think we're already running into our third power unit when we've only got 5 to utilize so far. So at some point, we're going to have to take some engine penalties, and there are going to be tracks as well where we're not going to be overly strong, like Baku, probably Mexico, a few others. So yeah, it's good to, you know, maximize days like this where the AI were just completely not on the pace. But as you can see there, we have another classic car race to do. We'll be doing that in the next episode. So I think it's a classic race at Suzuka in the Ferrari F2002. So that should be pretty sick. We're going to do the rear downforce, or the front downforce as well, and that'll apply to the car for Baku. So that should allow us to run with slightly less front wing, and that'll definitely help. But in terms of the direction for the rest of the season and what we do with R&D, we can go down the path of chassis. We could take a look at some, you know, tyre wear upgrades. We could even do the weight redistribution, which we haven't even touched yet. And those are both major upgrades, so we could potentially have a look at that. Or we could continue down the path of weight reduction and build towards the major and then ultimate weight reduction upgrades. And that's probably where I'm leaning more towards at the moment, because weight reduction helps you not only in a straight line, helps you in the corners, and it kind of makes the tyre wear better because the car is lighter as well. So let me know what you think about that, and I'll definitely get onto that in future episodes. But guys, that has been this video for today. Absolutely dominant. Like I said, it's not too often I can have a race where I'm just completely unchallenged. So from a racing perspective, I'm sorry there wasn't much of that, but I can guarantee for certain in the next episode in the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, there will be quite a bit of battling, and I can confidently say that because I've already recorded the episode. So that's it for today. Absolutely smash the like button for this dominant win in the Canadian Grand Prix. Subscribe to the channel if you're new as well to see plenty more F1 2017 content. It is really starting to get good now after 2 seasons of just trying to build up this car. We are starting to really get the results of all the hard work in the R&D side of things. But that's it for today. Until the next race, I'll see you next time.